This edition of MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from MacVoices. Watch or listen to MacVoices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the road to Macstock is getting shorter and shorter as we approach Woodstock, Illinois in July. Well, the physical road isn't getting shorter, but the distance in time is getting shorter. And I want to make sure we get to as many of the speakers as we possibly can to let you know the kind of things that you're going to hear, some of the things you're going to learn when you come to Macstock in Chicago, and we definitely hope you do. More about that later. This time, though, I'm really happy to have Wally Cherwinski back to tell us what he's going to be talking about at Macstock. Wally, it's great to see you.
Happy summer solstice, Chuck.
To you as well. Yes,
thank you.
And I should share with the folks that, you know, before the show we had words because you're talking to me on a new iMac Pro, and so therefore I am extremely jealous.
What can I say, Chuck?
Yeah, it's a tough life, Wally.
Yeah, I know. Well, and likewise, I'll let your listeners in on the rest of the conversation. Before anyone feels too jealous about it, my previous machine was a 2009 Mac Pro, so I have gone quite a few years on older hardware. So I thought it was due.
Understood.
Okay.
You're well deserving. You're well deserving.
Thank you.
So you are going to be at Macstock again. You're going to be a speaker again, which I'm delighted, and I'm also a little scared because every time you take the stage, I end up spending money.
Well, I'm going to do the very best I can, Chuck, because I love to see your credit card come out. But I'm not sure whether I'm going to be talking much about hardware this year or things that you will be tempted to buy. But we'll have conversations, so we'll see what we can do.
So it may be the hallway track that cost me money this year.
Sure, absolutely.
Good. So what is your topic this year?
Well, I'm talking about something that you're probably really familiar with because we have talked about it before, and that's Multicam. You remember, we've talked about Multicam after our days at Macworld, where we recorded musical performance by the Macworld All-Star Band. And you were a part of that. In fact, you and I have been a part of more than one Multicam efforts over the years. And this time, Multicam, I think, has progressed to the point, well, back a little bit. It used to be that if you wanted to do a Multicam, first of all, I'll describe what that is. With Multicam, you take more than one camera, you set them up in different locations, you shoot the same scene with different cameras from different angles and different distances. You take the footage from each of those different cameras, you bring it in to something like Final Cut Pro 10, and you combine it into something called a multi-clip. What you do then is you create a project in Final Cut 10 with this multi-clip, which has got all of that footage inside of it. Okay, and what you do is switch back and forth from one camera to another camera right in your software. So if you think of the way the things you normally associate Multicam with, next time you watch a football game, you're basically watching Multicam in real time because on the football field there's cameras everywhere. There's one in the sky, there's one in the sideline, they're everywhere. And there's somebody in a control room who is looking at a big wall of displays and deciding which camera should be on screen and when. So he's the switcher. And he says, okay, camera 1, camera 2, get ready, switch to camera 3. And you see basically a seamless football game with multiple cameras. Well, with the kind of multicam that I'm going to talk about, you shoot you use those cameras, you shoot that footage, but then you bring it back home. You're not really broadcasting in real time, but the end result, the product, the video that you make, will look a lot like that football game with switching back and forth to different camera angles. So these days, it used to be that if you wanted to do a multicam, you had to have a camcorder and another camcorder and another camcorder. And usually you could set up your own camcorders if you had more than one, but normally you would work with a friend or a colleague and set up their camera and your camera and another camera and do the recording. What's changed in recent years, though, is you don't really need a separate camcorder anymore because you've already got one in your pocket. It's your iPhone. So if you're with your spouse or a friend or a colleague, chances are they also have an iPhone or a smartphone of some kind. So you can do a multicam shoot almost extemporaneously on the spot. All you have to do is get those cameras in different positions, aim them at a scene, do the recording, and you're off.
Okay, so obviously I'm familiar with Multicam because we sort of do a limited version of it here at MacVoices because first at the opening of the show, you see me, then you see us do a split screen where it's Wally and me, then we cut to Wally, then back to the split screen, and at the end I come back. So that's, essentially kind of three different camera angles, really two, and then a combination. But I do that in Final Cut, Wally. Now, are you talking about is the talk going to be focused on doing Final Cut, or do you have other tools that you'll be advocating?
I'm going to, in my deeper dive session, that's where we take a longer look, a more detailed look at how to do it. I'm going to be focusing, first of all, on Final Cut Pro, because the way that Final Cut does this is so elegant and so easy that it's a really good primer on how to do a multicam. But if people don't have Final Cut Pro, you can actually do multicam in iMovie. Now, it's not quite as sophisticated. You can't use a whole lot of cameras. You kind of limit yourself to 2 cameras plus some B-roll. But there is a way that you can do it. So I'm going to be demoing how you can do a straightforward multicam in iMovie also.
That's cool. I confess, I never really thought about trying to do a multicam in any way in iMovie, but iMovie's free, so why wouldn't you? iMovie's free, and you have 2 iPhones between you and a spouse or a significant other, or maybe just a buddy. Go out and shoot something and then play with it. Why wouldn't you?
So I'm going to be showing both of them, and clearly with Final Cut, it is very elegant, and very smooth, and very logical. With iMovie, you've got to work around a few things, but it isn't that complicated, and the results actually are very good. Now, we have talked before about we have done musical performances that you've been involved in. But there are a whole lot of other things that you can think of for multicams. It doesn't have to be a musical performance. For example, if you have kids or kids of friends, a school play. You can get permission from the school, set up cameras in different locations in the auditorium, and record the school play, and then do a multicam video. I'm sure the school would love to have something like that for the parents and the kids to watch afterwards. So that's an example. You may be involved with a church choir, for example, if they're giving a performance. A great example of multicam. Special event, say a birthday party or something like that. Again, shoot it with 2 or 3 cameras edited together, and you've got this wonderful little keepsake of that event. And maybe one of the most practical things that people can do with multicam is if they're going to record a speech or a presentation, well, that's a natural for more than one camera, because you can switch back and forth from different angles. You can use it to edit out some of the parts that you don't want to keep in the final production, because you switch to a different angle. Well, you can cut a whole bunch out there and no one will know it. So speeches, presentations, another good example of the kind of thing you can do with multicam. In fact, in the past, I mentioned iMovie and the fact that you can do it with two cameras. I have done, I shouldn't call it a real multicam, but it's kind of a false multicam with one camera where it was a musical performance. And basically, I just recorded bits and pieces of the musicians playing throughout the evening. So a few seconds or a couple of minutes perhaps of the drummer, the bass player, the horns, the keyboardist, etc. And then put it together to a musical track, and it can look really realistic, even with one camera. Now, if you look really hard, you'll tell that there are some inconsistencies, but by and large, it's a lot of fun to do. So I think people will get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen some of that kind of B-roll that you see on it was obviously put together quick, that conveys the event or whatever it is, but it's clearly not synced with necessarily anything. It's more just about giving the sense of the event. But that's okay. That's a lot of times that's more than good enough.
Well, you remember last year I spoke about, I gave people some suggestions and tips for how to compose and shoot better video. And one of the things I mentioned was think about recreating an experience. Video should recreate what you saw or where you were or how you felt at the time. And that's not always easy to do. But if you record the event using multiple cameras, then you are getting a lot closer to recreating that experience because you're giving your audience kind of an immersive look at what happened or what took place. So it's a very effective technique. And, Mike Potter, we have Dr. Mac at Macstock this year, and maybe we can talk about that. But I think we should be calling Mike Potter Dr. Macstock.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I like
anyway, I was going to say, Dr. Macstock, the lineup he's got this year is, I think, absolutely fantastic. And the fact that he is talking the theme, productivity. So I was going to say with multicam, it's a way of being more productive by shooting more footage from different angles and having the resources to come up with a different kind of product than you could do with a single camera.
So I'm going to give two tips here that relate to what you just said. Tip number one is that if you do shoot the school play or the church play or whatever, be very careful because you may find yourself being volunteered to do more. Especially if you do a really good job of it, all of a sudden you could become the unofficial videographer. May not be a position you want to apply for.
Good point, Chuck. I've been there.
Actually. Yeah. Anybody that's done video, I think, has done that. It's like, well, you did such a great job on that. You could just do this. That's no problem. The other tip, though, of course, is that a lot of us have yet another camera. May not be quite as easy to manage, but it's in your iPad.
Absolutely. I know you record a lot of your shows using your iPad Pro.
I use that exclusively, pretty well, not quite exclusively, but pretty much for all the trade shows because it's the quality is good, the battery life is outstanding, and it's a lot easier to lug around than a semi-pro or even a camcorder around a crowded show floor. So, yeah, so they're folks, you can get really excited about this. And honestly, I'm excited to see how Wally's going to pull it off with iMovie because that means that you invest no money. All you have to do is invest a little time, and you can do this.
You've already got the iPhone or the iPad Pro or the iPad. You already got iMovie. You've already got a Mac. You're all set.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of
Yeah, you can hang out your shingle and be a wedding videographer.
You could.
Maybe not, but
Well, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So whether you're shooting with an iPhone, an iPad, a camcorder, a GoPro, it doesn't matter what camera you're using. you can use all of that footage and bring it in and use it in multicam. And in fact, these days, if you shoot something in 4K, you've got even more flexibility because you can crop that image in your editing program, and if you're exporting that at 1080p, basically you're not losing resolution. Okay, well, I mean, it's not as high resolution as 4K, but it is 1080p. But you can crop it, and it still looks fantastic. So all of a sudden, it's almost like having two cameras.
Yeah.
The crop camera and the full camera.
Yeah.
It's very neat.
In fact, there's an interview that you'll hear in a little while. Actually, come to think of it, it probably will be published before this. Where so go back and look. Where Mike Schmidt said that Wally's presentation either last year or year before about that particular tip was one of his aha moments of Macstock, and he's used it frequently. So, Wally, you got a big endorsement from Mike, on that one. That's like, yeah, I've never thought about it, but of course, why not?
Yeah, fantastic.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things about presenting and meeting people at Macstock is if something you say or something you present resonates with someone. I love that because you can get into a dialogue with them and they learn something, you learn something, and I learn just as much from the other speakers. And in fact, even the participants at Macstock as I do from anybody else. So it's great that way.
It is. And, I think it's unrealistic for anybody to go and expect that they're going to learn 500 new things. They easily could, but if you just can go take, one or two home that really make a big difference in your life, then it's well worth the trip and the time. And if you take more than that, then it's even better. But I know each year I've come home with at least a couple things that end up being materially important to me. And that's why one of the reasons I keep going back is that, they're just, and this year with the productivity theme, everybody's going to attack it a little different. And I'm sure there's going to be overlap, and there's going to be even a little bit of conflict. And I love that because productivity is such a challenging topic, but a fun one.
Well, this is number 4, Macstock number 4, isn't it? And it's just, to me, it's just gained momentum every year to the point now where I look at the lineup of speakers and the theme and some of the topics that we've got coming up. Yeah, I'm like you. I'm really excited to hear some of these things. I know Bob Levitas, Dr. Mac, will be there this year, and I mean, he's a productivity guru in many ways, and we've known Bob for quite a while, and he's always a treat to listen to. He can be engaging, he can be amusing, but you walk away and you can learn so much stuff from Bob.
Yeah.
So yeah, and and there are other people, whether even some people who aren't speaking this year, for others who are considering coming to Macstock, they are people they will probably want to meet. For example, our friend David Sparks from the Mac Power Users podcast. David will be there this year. It's his first time at Macstock. And I'm sure anyone who listens to your show knows David's name. He's written a lot of books on, well, basically productivity and the Mac and the iPad and the iPhone. So, and presentations, I could go on and on with all the stuff he's written. But David is very smart, very engaging, and you'll learn a lot from him. Even though he's not a speaker, you'll probably have a great time talking to David and learning a lot. Don McAllister's coming again this year. And again, Don may not be speaking, but something that happens at Macstock is you will make friends the minute you walk in the door. And if you've listened to Screencasts Online, Don's video tutorials, you already feel as though you know Don. And believe me, if you walk in and say, "Hi, Don, how you doing?" you've made a friend already. And he's a great guy. And there are others like Don and like David that you may have heard about or heard in podcasts or online. It's a great opportunity to meet them, say hello, and see what they have to say.
and I agree 100% with all that, but I also don't want to overlook the connections and the friends I made of the people that, for whatever reason, they're not out there with podcasts or blogs or whatever. They're Mac enthusiasts. They're people that use their stuff and for productivity purposes in this case. And you can learn so much just by talking to the guy next to you. You might find the best tip of the whole conference sitting in a chair next to you that is not on stage. So it's you come and you obviously you want to interact with the presenters, but you want to interact with everyone, and it happens so quickly. It just becomes one big family, and that's the best part of it. That's the best part of it. So Mike this year has given all the speakers a special code that gives them the best price.
Right.
They're all the same, so you still get the best price no matter which code you use. And I've been making sure everyone understands that this is the early bird price that expired back in January. So this is the only way you'll get is by using one of the speaker codes. So at registration, you can go and use Wally's code, which is?
My code is Magic22. That's all one word, Magic22.
Is that Magic with the 22 or TWO?
22.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The
number.
numbers.
22.
Okay. And of course, mine is MacVoices. I don't care which one you use, and I don't think Wally does. We just want to see you at Macstock. Simple. Just go there, register using somebody's code, and come to Macstock.
Using our codes is wonderful for people. But, even at the full price, even if you paid the full price for Macstock, it's an absolute bargain. Absolute bargain. I mean, think of the conferences you could go to where you spend, I don't know, many, many times more than what is being asked to go to Macstock. And for that, you get social events, you get a learning opportunity, you meet great people. It's a bargain at the regular price. But as Chuck says, use one of the discount codes and you've got the early bird price already in your pocket. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Sure. You get the Macstock welcome bag. You get admission to the Friday night and Saturday night events. You get 2 lunches, and they're really good lunches too. So it's not necessarily just cold cuts that have been left out for 3 days. It's really, really good lunches. So yeah, it's a fantastic event, and I agree with you all. It's a fantastic value. We've been talking it up for obvious reasons because I think Wally and all the other speakers, we all really believe in it, and we want to see you there.
And I think I mentioned it last year. The venue, McHenry College, is a fantastic venue for an event like this. From the presenter's perspective, all of the resources are there. Great video setup, great audio setup. The auditorium is fantastic, excellent acoustics. You can make eye contact. You're close to your audience. So from a presenter's point of view, it's great. When you're listening to presentations, the seats are comfortable. The auditorium isn't too big. It isn't too small. It just feels very comfortable. It's the right temperature. There's the cafeteria just outside. There's a common meeting area where you can chat with people. Everything is central. It's all together. So there's I guess I could call it a critical mass is there. And it's a wonderful place to spend a couple of days with really great people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So you're coming. Is Wendy's coming with you, obviously?
Wendy's coming, yes.
So we're going to have a great time. And one more time, we want to see you at Macstock. So Macstock2018.com with the code MAGIC22 or the code MacVoices to get the best price. We're going to have a blast. Wally, I can't wait to see you, and I definitely can't wait to see your session.
Well, likewise, Chuck, and I'm not sure. Your talk is a mystery to me. Also, it's got a nice teasy headline, but I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, my topic is going to be I forget which one I put first. Use what you buy and buy what you use.
That's it.
So we're going to talk about how to get the most bang for your buck, dollar wise and productivity wise. Out of your Mac and iOS purchases, and so I wanted to do something a little bit different this year, and as my usual presentations, I want to make people think just a little, not a lot, just a little. So,
well, I'm glad you're talking about that because I'll put my mind to it, and I'll see if I can come up with some things that you might be tempted to buy yourself.
Oh boy.
What do you think, Chuck?
I don't think you'll have any trouble with that, Wally.
Good.
You've already done it here with this interview because you're sitting there on an iMac Pro, so your goal has already been achieved.
Okay.
We'll see you soon.
But it isn't the top of the line iMac Pro, Chuck. It's just a pokey old original one.
Oh, that's a shame, Wally. That's a real shame.
I know. And it's only got 128 gigs of RAM. Come on.
Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me. So
Anyway.
we'll see you soon.
We will, and I'm looking forward to it also.
I am as well. Folks.
So you can find me at Screencast Online magazine. I write a monthly video column. And tune in. And I forgot to mention, Chuck, last year at Macstock, you remember we did a little impromptu multicam during the Barry's Mac Mingle session. They had a band performing, and you and I and a few other people got together with iPhones, basically, and your iPad, and we recorded some of those sessions. And I finally got around to editing those together. And I think there are about 5 different songs that we did. And they are on my YouTube channel now, if anyone wants to pop over and have a look at those. YouTube channel, just look up my name in YouTube and it'll probably pop right up, Wally Cherwinski. And there's a playlist of those 5 songs. A lot of fun.
I'm glad you said that. I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes so folks won't have any trouble finding them. Good. Yeah. Now I get to go back and relive last year's Macstock before this year's Macstock. Good job.
It was kind of impromptu, and I think we decided on the spur of the moment almost, hey, maybe we can do a multicam of this. And it just goes to show you don't have to plan it, you don't have to set up. Sometimes you can just fly by the seat of your pants and do a quick multicam, and it works out.
Yeah. So. Good point. Perfect example. Perfect segue.
Good.
We'll see you in July.
Look forward to it, and everyone else is going to be there. I look forward to meeting everybody.
Yeah. So if you're within the sound of our voice, we look forward to meeting you. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. We'll be back with more on the road to Macstock and more stuff that you will enjoy. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.